Ever since the weekly experience of the Dressrosa arc, Oda has left a certain topic up in the air that myself and others have been pondering about on whether or not it's going to happen in the story. And what I'm referring to is about Roronoa Zoro and the number 944. In chapter 784, titled Gear Forth, we got a colored page of the Straw Hats at a graveyard surrounded by zombies. In that colored page, we see Zoro sitting on a tombstone with the numbers 944 written on it, and even on the cross in the front with the date December 20, 944. On his shirt, we even see the words Ultimo, which translates from Spanish to English as final. And I can tell you for the longest time that I've been a part of the One Piece community, that the most common theory that I've been seeing floating around back then was revolving around Zoro's potential death. Well, here's the thing. It ain't happening, and given how chapter 943 ended with the reunion of Zoro and Sanji, next week's chapter should in fact stay within Wano. So that begs the question, what exactly is the importance surrounding Zoro now that we're about to reach chapter 944? Well, the one thing that does come to mind that I can most likely see happening revolves around Zoro's full name being mentioned to the public in Wano, because we know for a fact that the only people opposing the alliance that know of Zoro's full name that are currently present in the Resetsu district are Diaz Drake and Basil Hawkins. Should one of the two say his name loud enough for someone to recognize it, we may have ourselves the beginning of what could lead us getting more information regarding Zoro potentially being someone who has ties to the Wano country. And you can say that what we got of his backstory is more than enough for laying the groundwork of where he came from, but just like how I feel with Luffy, I want to know what happened with his family. I want to know how he ended up in Shimosuke village, and prior to his promise with Kuina, why he wanted to become a swordsman. There have been plenty of people I've spoken to who rather see Zoro as someone who made a name for himself without the need of being someone who's secretly from a royal family. And I get that perspective, I really do. But can we really dismiss everything Zoro has accomplished because of who he might be potentially related to? You can be related to the greatest individual of whatever they majored in, but if you were never with them and you put the time and effort to make yourself the absolute best you can be in that area, how much are you crediting that person's relations versus your own efforts without the need of assistance? It would be completely unfair to rule that out for Zoro. I do get that it might be sort of late in the game to start bringing up things to connect characters to places and people without it being done earlier in the story, but given the reveal of Yasu's surname being Shimosuke, which is the same as Zoro's village back in the East Blue, both names translate to Frost Moon, and by the way, for those of you guys who don't know, Shimotsuki in the lunar calendar is the month of November, which is the birth month of Zoro. And back in the past of Yasu that we saw in chapter 942, we saw someone who was bearing a sigil that was very similar to that Koshiro had wore way back in Zoro's past, and it's something that he still wears
to this day. To this day!
I don't think Oda would have things like this in the story if he wasn't going to make use of them later on. Like, he doesn't have to like word for word say this and that, like hold our hands and tell us, you know, this might be important later on, this and that. Like, they're clues for a reason, and he doesn't have to show us right away that it's going to be important sometime later on in the story. There are going to be little things that we're going to pick up on, and he's going to use that to kind of help explain how this is going to make sense later on. And for those of you who follow the Vivre cards, Minatomo from East Blue, who is related to the one in Wano, is the offspring of someone who ended up in the East Blue from Wano, along with someone that we were very familiar with that was on that boat. Now, we do know that in both descriptions for Zoro and Koshiro, while it states that they reside or resided in the Shimosuke village, they were never actually born there. So the possibility of one of those two or even both of them being from Wano is a very real possibility. And I've come down to two possible ways of how this could tie Zoro to Wano. The first one is that the offspring of Minatomo that departed from Wano to East Blue had on his boat Koshiro, his wife who was pregnant at the time of Kuina leaving Wano, possibly due to them learning about Orochi's plans to take the throne from the Kozuki family, and feeling the possible annihilation of the Shimosuke clan. Yasu had urged Koshiro to leave in order to protect his family. 1 year later, after Orochi had taken over, another ship had made its way to the East Blue filled with children from Wano, with a 1-year-old Zoro being among those kids. The second reason could be that 23 years ago, when Moria had stolen the body of Ryuma along with Shusui, the Kozuki family had sent samurai to look for the stolen property of Wano. Having found himself in the East Blue, Koshiro fell in love with a woman who would later on give birth to his daughter Kuina. Over time, Koshiro would keep in contact with either Oden or Yasu regarding his search. 3 years later, when Orochi began his takeover, Yasu sent away children from the Shimosuke clan out of Wano to where Koshiro resided, since it's far away from both Orochi and Kaido, so it's somewhere that they can never get their hands on these kids. and among those kids, Zoro was with them. The timeline would work out like this to make any sense of these possibilities ever happening. You have it to where 20 years ago is when Orochi took over Wano. Zoro was born the year prior, 21 years ago, with Kuina being born the year prior to that, which was 22 years ago. Koshiro would have been 31 years old around the time that Zoro was born, and Yasu would roughly be around the same age or just a tad older than Koshiro. If you were to go with possibility number 2, you have it to where 3 years prior to Orochi seizing Wano, Moria had stolen the body of Ryuma along with Shusui. Koshiro would then have left in search of Shusui, and within roughly a year is when Kuina would have been born. And you could also even consider that Koshiro's wife might have been with them during this journey while she was pregnant with Kuina, and after arriving in the East Blue, Kuina was then born. You have to remember that Zoro would at least be a year old during these events, so it makes sense that he wouldn't have any remembrance of Wano at that age. Momonosuke did mention early in the arc that he got his trademark battle cry from Zoro, to which Kiku stated that it was similar to the Kuri dialect of old. And like with children, they tend to remember certain things that they will repeat if they hear it enough. So while it could just be a coincidence that Zoro knows this, Zoro doing something like that may be connected to something he remembered as a kid when training under Koshiro, who again might have ties to Wano. So with chapter 944 on its way, we can rule out anything regarding Zoro's death, but look at potentially the very beginning of the road that leads us to learning about the true origins of the second in command of the Straw Hat Pirates. It doesn't devalue him by any means since his come up took place in the East Blue. We don't even know if he'll have any ties to anyone of great importance in his family, aside from them being an associate to Odin or Yasu. And even upon learning about the life he would have had he stayed in Wano, Zoro knows that he's forever grateful for the life he has had up to this point. So that's pretty much going to wrap up things here, but let me know down in the comment section below, how do you guys see this entire thing playing out for chapter 944 and the things that are going to be revolving around Zoro? Do you guys think that something's going to go down with Zoro in chapter 944, or do you think it's something that's not going to be as significant as, I'm making it up to be? Be sure to leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. Like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new here. If you haven't subscribed already and you want to be a part of the weekly experience on the channel, as I do live reactions and occasional reviews to the One Piece manga, definitely do that if you haven't already, and I'll catch you guys for chapter 944 of the best-selling manga in history. So, Commodore Lad signing off. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, take care.